suppose we'll run into some team of the year talk then. So this is what I've gone with then as my hurling team of the year, all-star team of the year, Gaelic Games fan team, TV team of the year, whatever you want to call it. But Owen Murphy of Kilkenny in goal is the man I've gone for. Mikey Butler, Hugh Lawler, Dan Morrissey in the full back line. Half back line is Dermot Burns, William O'Donoghue and Kyle Hayes. Midfield is Darragh O'Donovan and Davy Fitzgerald of Clare. Half forward line, Tony Kelly of Clare, TJ Reid Kilkenny, Shane O'Donnell of Clare, and the full forward line, Aaron Glan of Limerick, Conor Whelan Galway, and Owen Cody Kilkenny. I know your one is definitely a little bit different, so we'll get into that maybe in a moment. But any thoughts on that team there?
I think it's a respectable team, yeah. Even the six forwards, or actually, you've put in Tony Kelly instead of Tom Morrissey. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing. Like even Derek Lynch from I think it was Clare FM. He said, quoting my tweet, in the top scorers, he was third top scorer from play and the fifth top scorer overall. He's on teams of the years. But I think in general, Tony Kelly hasn't performed in the Munster final and the All-Ireland semi-final. That's probably why he wasn't in my team. In general, I'd love to know your opinions on that. But the two midfielders, yeah, Will O'Donoghue and Darragh O'Donovan. But I definitely agree with that. But Will O'Donoghue at centre back, some people are saying, but I just feel I'd put this to you, 105 minutes at centre back. I don't think that's enough. I know Will O'Donoghue's done incredible this season, but I just don't think that's enough to warrant himself in a team of the year. Whereas John Conlon, for example, has done absolutely brilliant at centre back over the last 2 weeks. It probably deserves more than Will O'Donoghue. But yeah, I think that's a respectable team in fairness to you. There's no blips there. I think the only blip really, and a lot of people, the only unexpected one is Tony Kelly. So explain yourself, Aaron, why have Tony Kelly instead of Tom Morrissey?
Yeah, I just think for the body of work that Tony Kelly done all year for Clare, like obviously, as you said, third top scorer. I think like the problem is with Tony Kelly, and you get this sometimes even with some Dublin footballers, even Kerry footballers at times. I think David Clifford will probably get this at times, where we judge him at such high standards and we have him so high that if he's not at them high standards, then we think, oh well, he must have been poor or must have had a bad season. And because a couple of years ago, I remember he was immortal. I think it was 2020 or 2021, where he was just absolutely unplayable. He was scoring like 10, 15 points every game, majority of which were from play and everything. And I remember he had a cracking game against Limerick a couple of years ago. But I still thought he was very good. Like, look, obviously in the semi-final, like you said, it probably wasn't vintage Tony Kelly, and that's probably been maybe a bit of the issue. Like, you think back to the semi-final last year at times, he wasn't probably at his brilliant best. I still think, he still set up scores around him. He's still done a job. He had a couple of late chances. I still think he gets in there. Like Tom Morrissey, obviously phenomenal for Limerick. And look, you're picking between chalk and cheese. Like you could really choose between anyone. And I think Tom Morrissey's been very good as well. But I just think Kelly's been a little bit better, in my opinion. I think he's been just that bit better overall. But I suppose it is chalk and cheese at the best of times of these things.
It is definitely, and it is a good point to say Tony Kelly's been influential for Clare in most games, but it is also a very good point to say in the Munster final against Limerick and in the semi-final against Kilkenny, he didn't perform to his best really, Tony Kelly, and that was my point. That's probably why I didn't put him in team of the year. But I still look at my team. I still have a regret. Well, I have one particular regret, but the rest of them is fine. But yeah, I think that's a respectable team in general. It's an interesting viewpoint on Tony Kelly. Tom Morrissey didn't perform well yesterday. That's probably part of the reason you probably didn't put him in. But Tony Kelly, I still think he's an incredible player. But I just think, in my opinion anyway, in the big games, once it got to the pressure cooker, I don't think Tony Kelly delivered particularly this season. That's just my opinion on it. Clare fans could come at me all they want, but I just think Tony Kelly didn't really deserve team of the year because of them two performances he put in the biggest games of the season.
Yeah, there was two other players I was thinking about throwing in there. One of them was Cian Lynch, and I know that definitely would have there would have been a lot of people who probably wouldn't have been happy with that. But I know, obviously, look, he was injured for the majority of the season. He only played the semi-final and final, so it probably would have been a bit, fortuitous really to throw him in there. But I thought he was unbelievable in the final. Like, he was so good. Semi-final, I thought he was very good as well. Like, you could argue he could maybe get in there, but is 2 games enough? Probably not, to be fair.
No, it's not enough really. Like even you're talking about Garrett Hagerty getting. I know he was instrumental last season. Now Garrett Hagerty against Kilkenny, but he didn't get team near, and
Yeah,
deservedly not because in the final, okay, fair enough. But I'd make this point to everybody. I know he got man of the match in the final, Keane Lynch, but it's almost like remember 2013 when Shane O'Donnell came out of nowhere and scored a hat trick and got man of the match in the Ireland final. Wouldn't it have
mm,
been a bit stupid just to name him on team of the year that year? You
yeah,
know, you think about that in general, or even Cormac Costello performing well against Mayo. I think it was 2016. I think was it the replay, and
yeah,
put him in team of the year. I don't know. You know, Killian Spillane last season when he came on and did well against Galway, but we put him in team of the year. You know, it's not just the final; it's the whole season, and that's just my honest opinion on it. And that's probably why I wouldn't put Keane Lynch in there. I think you'd have your reasons for putting Keane Lynch, but I think if you did, rightly so, to be honest with you, Aaron, I think you'd get
yeah.
a lot of overs.
No, no. And to be fair, I kind of thought more about it, and I was like, no, I don't think he will get in there. To be fair, but we might run through your own team then. So this is obviously what you put up on Instagram earlier. So Nicky Quaid in goal, Adam Hogan, Hugh Lawler, and Barry Nash. The half-back line is Jeremy Burns, John Conlon, and Kyle Hayes. Midfield, Dara O'Donovan and Adrian Mullen. Half-forward line, Shane O'Donnell, TJ Reid, and Tom Morrissey. And full forward line is Galan, Whelan, and Cody. So definitely a few changes in there to myself. Obviously, Nicky Quaid ahead of Owen Murphy is definitely an interesting one. I think to be fair, Quaid did have a very good season, and he didn't do much wrong. But I just think those saves from Owen Murphy in particular, like that for me was just was what swung it. I know you could say like Quaid was probably had a better final, and maybe some of Owen Murphy's puck outs went astray in the second half. But I think those saves for me is what dragged him in. But you obviously have gone for Nicky Quaid.
I have in general, and I was thinking before even the All Ireland final began, I was thinking it's all going to come down to this and whichever goalkeeper performs because I think both of them were as good as each other this year. Let's not forget Nicky Quaid. I think only conceded he conceded one goal against Cork through Patrick Organ. He conceded one goal through Peter Duggan against Clare. Carl Mannion against Galway. That's only 3 goals, or even the Mark Rogers goal. That's 4 goals this season before the final. You know, that's still an incredible record. I know you could talk about defenders and stuff like that, but Nicky Quaid still had to do a lot in goal. And there's more to goalkeeping, I think, than shot stopping. It's the same in every other sport, in soccer and Gaelic football. I just think there's distribution, there's puck outs and things. I just think Owen Murphy, I know he made that brilliant save in the semi final. He was very close to my team in general. But those puck outs in the All Ireland final, I just think were a bit suspect. And I just think that would have been the tip of the iceberg, and I would have had Nicky Quaid in goal because I just think the calmness of him, especially in yesterday's All Ireland final, was what swung it for me. But a lot of people are making the point, one person in particular made the point that Nicky Quaid conceded 2 in an All Ireland final. Owen Murphy conceded 4 against a Wexford team that were in relegation trouble. So I know Owen Murphy isn't bad, but you know that's just the point. That's just how the cookie crumbles in a way. So yeah, that'll be my call anyway. That's how I back up Nicky Quaid and goal.
Yeah. To be fair, like I don't think you can begrudge the 2 goals. Like I mean, one of the goals broke the net, which I think was the first, and that tells you if it's breaking the net, I don't think anyone's saving it. Do you know that way? Like and yeah, like I mean, you know, it's one of them. Like he conceded 2 goals in the final last year, and they still went on to win the final. Like so, it's one of these things that are going to happen if Kilkenny keep pucking the ball in on top of the full back line. Adrian Mullen obviously in there for yourself as well. Like he did have a very good season. I know he was in and out at times with injuries and everything else, but you put him in at midfield.
And I say in hindsight's a wonderful team. One change I'd make to the team, and it is Adrian Mullen. I think back at it and think, what was I doing really? I'd probably put Will O'Donoghue in the team, to be honest with you. I just think, like, even Mullen, I think he still had a very good year, 16 points from play this season. I think he was instrumental in the semi-final against Laird. He was the one fella that was driving Kilkenny up the field, and I'd probably pick him because of that. But in hindsight, I probably can't defend it. I probably put Will O'Donoghue in midfield instead of him. And yeah, that's an error on my part. But look, yeah, I was probably one of the first to post the team of the year, so Look, I
Oh,
probably
yeah.
next weekend in football, I'm just gonna wait until everybody posts and then I'll post my team of the year just to save myself a bit of flack, So I'll do that next time. No, I'll learn for next time. But yeah, I was kind of stupid just to do my team of the year. We're one wrong. In hindsight, that isn't too bad, to be honest with you. So look, I probably have Winnow Donoghue in there instead of Adrian Mullen. So that's an L, unfortunately, for myself.